The purpose of a game demo is to get you excited for the final retail product, either as a test drive for a game that's already out, or as a work-in-progress preview to get you to pre-order the game, or just follow it on the Steam store page, whatever it is kids do these days. But there have been a couple of game demos that were so good I kept playing them over and over to extract everything I could out of them. Sometimes playing them longer than I play most actual retail games. I can name a few historical examples. The demo for PsyOps: The Mindgate Conspiracy on the Xbox included a few levels of the final game and a stripped-down version of the game's sandbox combat arena mode. I might have put more hours into that demo arena than I ever did into the final game, which is saying something because I loved that game. An earlier example is Age of Wonders. A gathering of developers demo disc was included with the game Oni, and on that disc was a surprisingly full-featured demo of Age of Wonders with multiple maps and races to play as. I think I played every possible combination of level and faction in that demo multiple times over, and since I couldn't find a copy of the game locally, I think that was the first game I ever bought on eBay. Oni came out in 2001, so by the time I was playing the Age of Wonders demo, it was probably 2002, which meant the game was 3 years old and had not been a runaway commercial success, so it's not surprising I couldn't find a copy at the Babbage's. For you younger millennials, a Babbage's was like a prototypical GameStop. For those of you younger than that, a GameStop was like a grocery store that only sold video games. I don't know, man. You had to be there. Age of Wonders is my favorite strategy game of all time, but my respect for it diminished a lot with every subpar sequel and the ultimate realization that the whole franchise was a naked ripoff of Master of Magic. Oh well, fond memories of the demo, at least. These examples are both from 20 or more years ago, when I was very small and had no money. It's easier to waste hours on a demo if you don't have a job and can't afford to buy a new game to play instead. Demos seem less common these days, and now that I'm a successful YouTube mogul, I'm content to buy dozens of Steam games I will never even download, let alone play. That brings us to Blueprints. I played the demo for Blueprints for about 15 hours, which for a casual indie puzzle adventure type game is a lot. For a demo of a casual indie puzzle adventure type game, it's a shitload. If the full game had been available at that time, I would have bought it immediately. I kept replaying the demo until I beat it, which I don't think the developers expected a lot of players to do, because the reduced time limit and progression mechanics should make reaching the end extremely difficult. But Blueprints is a bit of a roguelike, which means that if you try enough times, eventually RN Jesus will smile on you and pave your way to victory with a series of lucky dice rolls. Anyway, I finished the demo in June of 2024, and then I wishlisted the game on Steam thinking it would be out any day now. Here we are, almost a year later, and Blueprints is out. Even if I didn't play the full game at all, I still think I owe the devs a purchase because of how much time I spent on the demo and how much I enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't like about the demo was that it didn't have an option to invert mouse look. Inverted controls is not an accessibility feature, it's a reality feature. We all know that inverted y-axis is objectively the correct way to play a game that exists in 3 dimensions. No need to have that argument again. As full-fledged as the demo was, there is a ton more content in the final version, so the almost year-long gap between releases actually makes sense. Let's get into it. In Blueprints, you play as a young androgynous boy who has inherited a country manor from your eccentric uncle.
A haunted house. And this?
This house is to be your new home, provided you can reach the mysterious Room 46. The other 45 rooms of the house seem to change day by day. Every day, you mount an expedition through the house. Your progress is limited by the number of times you can move between rooms before you get too tired and have to go back to your campsite on the grounds to rest. Every time you open a door in the house, you draw 3 blueprints from a deck of possible room types and get to choose which one to draft. Every room in the house has unique effects and different entrances and exits, so your goal is to manage resources, like keys to open locked doors, gems to pay for fancy rooms with better beneficial effects, and food to keep your reserve of moves from hitting 0 and ending the day early. You can also soft lock yourself by drafting dead ends in your house that prevent you from reaching the end. If that happens, you end the day and return tomorrow to a completely new layout. Your progress isn't fully reset every day, however. Some rooms provide bonuses to your next day's expedition, and as you get further into the game, you start unlocking permanent bonuses, routes of exploration, new rooms for your drafting pool, and permanent upgrades to rooms that last for the rest of the game. These persistent roguelite elements turn a luck-based game into a more strategic game, albeit still with a hefty dose of luck. The rooms of the house are randomized but still persistent, so if you find the code to a safe on one day, you can still use that same code on the same safe afterwards, because the room may have changed position in the house, but the safe is still the same safe. As you play Blueprints, you become more efficient in your exploration every day. Your drafting strategy improves, you move more quickly through common puzzles, and you learn some ways to optimize your routes and accommodate different layouts. I'll give an example here, the game's keycard system. This is early game stuff that you figure out pretty quick, so I don't think it's much of a spoiler. Some doors in Blueprints are locked with a keycard system instead of normal keys. Once you find the keycard, you can open every keycard door. There is also a security room in the draft pool where you can control the keycard system. From the security room terminal, you can adjust the frequency with which keycard doors appear. You can also set the keycard system to fail open or fail closed in the event of power loss. Combine that with the utility room, which allows you to cut power to the keycard system at the breaker, and you have an interesting mechanic that plays out a little bit different depending on the day. If you have the keycard and you draft the security room, well, you keep the keycard system on and crank up the number of security doors. That will help you save your stockpile of normal keys. If you draft the security room without having a keycard, you reduce the number of security doors to prevent yourself from getting soft locked. If you draft the security room and the utility room, you increase the number of security doors to maximum, set the door system to fail open, and then cut the power. Now you have a bunch of unpowered security doors you can waltz through without using a keycard. There are some cool influences at work in Blueprints. The most obvious you've probably already figured out. This is reminiscent of the Navidson record from the novel House of Leaves, a story nested Matryoshka style inside several other story layers. I know what House of Leaves is generally about. I own a copy of the book. I have not read most of it because it's tedious and challenging. I certainly like the idea of the book, but I greatly prefer the Doom adaptation, MyHouse.wad, because it's got the super shotgun in it. The other influence on Blueprints is those really complicated, expensive board games, the one you play on game night with the other theater kids, not to be confused with Greek Life game night, which I'm reliably told mostly consists of King's Cup and Cards Against Humanity. I don't want to spoil too much of the game's plot or puzzles or just the general experience of figuring stuff out for yourself and exploring new rooms. The short version is that I adore this game and you should buy it right now. The graphics are simple, clean, but effective. The music is lovely. The basic roguelite room drafting mechanic is endlessly satisfying. What a wonderful game this is. There is also a lot of meat on these bones. The primary conceit of the game is to reach the final room of the house. But just getting to the antechamber at the far north of the house isn't the end of the game, it's just the end of the demo. There's a whole second leg of the journey after that before you can properly complete the game. And underneath that are a ton of bonus puzzles to solve, new areas to reach, and complex world building that you can piece together if you're interested in the game's background story. I think just beating the main portion of the game is already worth the price of admission, but if you really fall in love with it, there's way more in there for you to do. Also, for as complicated as some of Blueprints' puzzles can get, the game still remains accessible. There are always multiple parallel avenues of progression. You never really get stuck, like in Myst or some shit. You're always aware of what your next task is, and there are multiple ways to progress, so if you can't solve one puzzle, there's probably an alternate route with a different puzzle that might be more your speed. Blueprints always gives you clear tasks to work on. It's not like an old-school point-and-click adventure where the general premise is so esoteric it's hard to figure out what you're even expected to do, not just how to do it. I don't mean to keep beating up on Myst, but this is the anti-Myst. Even if you're unable to solve one of the game's larger puzzles, you can continue to make progress in small ways while you mull it over. Blueprints is one of my favorite games of the last 35 years, but that's just how long I've been alive. You might like it more or less, depending on how old you are. I've been evangelizing this game since the demo came out, and most people I've inflicted it on have really appreciated it. I don't think we get a lot of games like this anymore. I don't just mean in terms of gameplay or story, I mean games that are this well realized. I didn't sink a bunch of time into a janky early access version of Blueprints that ruined any chance of enjoying the full version. I was never assaulted by microtransactions or DLC or special editions of the game. Blueprints was done when it was done, and it was released when it was done. A few more minor tweaks and additions may be added to the game post-release, but as far as I'm concerned, it's already perfect. It must be pretty good if it inspired me to post a video to this channel, right? Thank you for watching. I'll see you again someday.